roadmap, it is very much acknowledged that the role of MSMEs are going to be very crucial, and this sector is the one which actually needs a kind of push, for which we have been getting so many updates from the ministry. And you know and I'm actually excited today in this panel discussion, because all these actions at the top level which is happening in this panel, we have some very important people who have actually made this whole policy making in last one in last 1 month or so. What we have received from funds to the 3 lakh crore package to Atmanirbhar package, and even the MSME definition. So we will try to touch each aspect of the contemporary updates that has happened in this space. And we have Mr. HP Kumar, who is the ex-director general of NSIC, and who was CMD of NSIC. He is he is one of the guiding source for MSME policy making in India, not just in last few years, but since the concept of MSME have actually started evolving. So it actually became visible in 2006, but Mr. Kumar has been there for even before that. So I am looking forward, and I hope that the gathering, the panel, uh, attendees will going to get a lot of key insights from him. We also have Mr. Ajay Thakur, uh, who is one of the most important person in getting the window open for MSMEs in the field of alternate finance. So Mr. Thakur is representing Bombay Stock Exchange, and Bombay Stock Exchange has actually created a breakthrough couple of years ago when they started BSC SME Exchange. So till I think 2016, Mr. Thakur can even
2012,
yeah,
2012.
2012. So till 2012, Bombay Stock Exchange and getting listed in a market was actually limited to large companies, where only large companies were able to do that. But he was being given this mandate to drive MSMEs and SMEs to get listed, and the listing norms have been continuously have evolved to a level. Even in of recently, he'll be able to give us more insights that how my question will be to him would be how easy it is now to actually list SME in today's time. But like since last 8 years, we have seen a great evolution in that leg. And also we have Miss Ruchi Agarwal, who is representing the extreme new scenario of alternate finance, that is RXIL. So it is actually an initiative between it's a joint initiative between NSC and SIDBI. And she has actually joined us in order to help us in understanding the trade receivable, and the receivable, uh, the trades process, how is that shaping up. Because we have seen one of the main problem of MSMEs as delayed payments, or even the payment cycle and everything. So how is that that particular trades is helping out MSMEs in that direction? We have to understand from her. And I welcome all three my distinguished panelists once again. And I'll now start with Mr. Kumar. With again, in the last panel discussion also, we touched upon some flagship developments which he elaborated in a very short and a very to the point manner. And so we start with him, where he can probably take a recap of that, which, because I'm sure a lot of new people have joined in this panel. And I would just like to put a question to Mr. Kumar about how this Atmanirbhar Bharat is going to actually going to make a significant impact on ground. We have seen this uh, policy came out. We are also witnessing some of the you can say uh, I think what my personal opinion is, this will take a bit of time, but ideally, the unrest is there that, the MSMEs doesn't have much time. And so what exactly, Atmanirbhar Bharat is going to do in a nutshell for an MSME? That will be my this thing. And the COVID crisis, how uh, the financial package which is being announced by the honorable finance minister and honorable prime minister, how this great announcement for MSME is going to come to the level of the bank manager, uh, who is ultimately dealing with the MSME. So that's my basic question, along with an observation that there is a disconnect. What all we hear from the press conferences and what all we hear from the bank manager level, there is a bit of difference. So how to make that particular bridge happen? I would just like to understand from Mr. Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Faiz. You are a good journalist, in fact, mixing so many questions and consolidating into one. So I'll try to address whatever you mentioned in my.
That that's $1 million question.
Yeah. So to begin with, let me tell you, Atmanirbhar Bharat is a very, very wide concept, and MSMEs is a part of that. So Atmanirbhar Bharat includes almost every sector of the economy, including agriculture, exports, and you know, import substitution, and so many things. So I will first, focus on MSME's status as of now, what has happened, and what is the alternative sources that the people can, avail, and then slightly mention about the relationship between MSME's package and how they are going to grow with Atmanirbhar Bharat, and how far they can achieve, and how much time will it take. So with this little background, let me tell you, there is a very mixed reaction to this package which has been announced by the government of India. I was there in one webinar yesterday with industry veterans, industry chambers veterans from various industries, various MSME chambers were represented there. I was the only one who was advocating about the positive aspects of the relief package, the stimulus package. Others were very skeptical that banks are not cooperating about 3 lakh crore worth of package which has been announced, and implementation is very weak. People are still struggling. MSMEs, there is no empathy towards the MSMEs for availing these packages. Announcement alone does not help. So these are the views which have been expressed by many industry chambers representatives yesterday when I talked to them. But before we come to the analysis of this, what is there, let me first of all briefly mention in half a minute as to what is on offer. What has the government done? In fact, government announced two kinds of packages. One by Reserve Bank of India, that is liquidity management improvement, and then second by the relief package by way of giving that stimulus. The government, the Reserve Bank of India, of course, initially when they announced on 27th of March of 2020, that was basically for the purpose of refinancing, boosting up liquidity amongst the MSME, amongst the NBFC sector, so that they could further lend to the MSMEs, providing windows of refinancing and like long-term repo operations and those. Basically, the purpose was to provide liquidity into the hands of the banks by way of refinance and also by way of long-term repo operations in the hands of the NBFCs through SIDBI. Another thing which they did was that providing moratorium of 3 months to the MSMEs so that they don't suffer because of the lockdown, and they are they don't become very stressed because of the need to repay the principal and interest installments during that 3 months. So that was one aspect which RBI did, and a lot of units, lot of MSMEs got benefit because of that. And there was a demand that it should be further extended by 3 months, which RBI did. People said interest should be waived. You are giving us 3 months moratorium, but you are still charging interest. That is what was the demand of the MSMEs, which of course we are very clear as those who understand the banking and finance. You see, banks are lending at a cost. They have to pay interest to the depositors. Ultimately, they are not generating cash of their own. It is only through the lending portfolio that that they earn the income. So there was no question of waiving this. But ultimately, people went to the Supreme Court also, and probably there is a hearing going on this. And the RBI and State Bank of India have already represented. I was reading today that there cannot be any waiver of interest on this lending. So that is one part of the RBI stimulus which they gave on 27th March. Then there was hue and cry because there was a lot of problem with regard to liquidity management by the MSMEs. As we all know, they had to pay salaries, rent, electricity, all fixed charges. Their income got stopped, billing got stopped, no invoice generated, no sales was happening, and even the sales which they had already done, even there also the realizations were not happening. So without any income, without any sales, they were supposed to make payment of all the expenditure, continuing to pay salaries and electricity and rent and all those things. So there was a big of a imbalance in their cash flows. So they were facing a lot of difficulties, and there was hue and cry, and we were making representations after representation to the government from all over the country. All industry associations were doing that. The government finally came out with a package, which is of course part of this Atmanirbhar Bharat, which Mr. Faiz was mentioning. And the first announcement was with regard to MSMEs. 6 announcements with regard to MSMEs. I will briefly recapture them one by one for those who are not aware. One is 3 lakh crore window for providing 20% additional funding, emergency line, to those MSMEs who had outstanding credit as on 29th February 2020 with any of the banks. And this was limited to only those MSMEs which had outstanding up to 25 crore and with turnover not exceeding 100 crore. So that was the eligibility requirement, that if you have a 25 crore outstanding and your turnover doesn't exceed 100 crore, you have the balance outstanding as on 29th February with the bank. You are eligible for 20% additional funding for a period of almost 5 years, because 4 years is the repayment period and 1 year is the moratorium period. At a highest rate of interest of 9.25%, the banks can charge even lower also depending upon if their cost is less. And this is going to be additional collateral free. No additional collateral is going to be asked. They said collateral free, but existing collateral, if you already have given, probably bank will surely cover the additional outstanding out of the existing collateral. So there should not be any reason for complaint. People have been asking that banks are still asking for collateral. It's a collateral free credit, but banks are only trying to cover the additional 20% with the existing collateral which you have. You don't have to give any additional collateral security. So these are the contours of the additional funding which Government of India announced for 3 lakh crore. It's a big boost to the MSME's liquidity improvement. Big boost. 3 lakh crore is a big money. 20% of and it will benefit all those almost 90% plus or even more of the MSMEs which were availing the credit. But the point is 90% of 90% still do not avail any credit. It comes to almost 70-80% which do not have any bank credit. It's only 15 to 20% which avail the bank credit. So there was nothing in that. And that is why yesterday also I think there was a lot of discussion, and I agree with that those which did not have any credit facility, how are they going to improve their liquidity? For them, there is nothing in the package. Second thing that was announced was fund of funds, which I was discussing with Mr. Thakur also, who is there present. I think he will be able to throw more light on that. So fund of fund is basically a 50,000 crore fund which will be set up by the government of India. 10,000 crore from their own resources and 40,000 will come from the other institutions. And this 50,000 crore will be utilized to participate in equity of the MSMEs. So it becomes a real alternative source of finance, the issue that we are going to discuss. The contours of this alternative source, how the listing, what is the benefit of listing and all that, we will look forward to Mr. Thakur's views on this. The third is, of course, the stressed asset fund of 20,000 crore. This 20,000 crore basically will be provided by the banks to MSMEs which are stressed already, whose accounts are either under SMA 2 and above or even declared NPS. The purpose is to help the promoters and directors, owners of these stressed MSMEs, so that they can utilize this loan. It will be given as a loan to the promoters, so that they can invest it in their companies, and then companies can become regular. So ultimately, it is going to come back to the banks. See, they give it to the promoters. Promoters invest it into the MSMEs which they own, and then MSMEs are going to regularize the account by paying it back to the banks by way of overdue interest and overdue principal, so that their accounts get regularized. So this is basically, it's a good structuring. I really compliment those who have done this, because it will take a lot of MSMEs which are struggling, in meeting their principal and interest liabilities to the bank and have been classified under SMA, beyond SMA 1, under SMA 2 or SMA 3. And otherwise, they will be declared NPS later on.
So these are the MSMEs, sir. Just sorry to interrupt. So these are the MSMEs which are not on the stressed category. They can go into the stressed category.
They are not. No, there could be MSMEs which are either stressed or already declared NPS.
Already declared NPS.
It is meant for both. But then those which are stressed and not declared as NPA, it's more of help to them, so that they can wriggle out of this. But even NPAs, which are feasible, they can also be covered under that.
Yeah.
So that is the third window which government has announced. And then, of course, the change in definition. Definition is also a good measure, which will surely help the MSMEs to upgrade their scale up their operations and upgrade their technologies. But the major benefit which has come out of definition is because of the micro sector definition, which has been increased from 25 lakhs to 1 crore investment in plant and machinery, and turnover criteria up to 5 crore. So 90% of the MSMEs are going to be covered under that. It's only 10% which are small and medium, but 10% also is a big number. And they are the ones who are basically looking for alternative sources of funding. It is not the 90% of micros which are looking for alternative. When we talk of alternative sources of funding, like capital raising through equity, and then going to TREDS platform, which Ruchi Agarwal is there to brief us later. In fact, these are the 10% or even lesser, those who look for these kind of alternative sources of funding. So these are some of the, and of course other 1 or 2, like 45 days, all the bills and receivables will be cleared by the government, which of course we have to still see, because that is a very tricky issue, because a lot of corporates and government departments have still not done that, as the feedback is coming. And I don't know whether 45 days all these bills will be cleared. But this is at least clear from the government announcement that they are very serious about this, ensuring that the payment of outstanding bills and receivables is clear. And last one, of course, the 200 crore worth of tenders, below 200 crore, all these tenders will be out of the purview of international bidding, and they will be only floated within the country, so that indigenous MSMEs can be given the advantage of quoting for those small tenders up to 200 crore. And international companies are not able to grab all those and depriving the MSMEs locally from those things. So one aspect of another, lastly, before I conclude, is that bill discounting, besides the TREDS, I would like to mention, when Ruchi can cover in her presentation, that besides the normal operations of TREDS, which she will explain to us, I have only one suggestion, that the bill discounting which is taking place on the platform, it should also be in the form of real bills instead of only factoring. And I do not know whether they are only considering these, platform for discounting without recourse basis, truly without recourse, or still there is a recourse, to the sellers, which are SMEs. So that is an aspect which is still, troubling the MSMEs, which she can clarify. Let me also say that this facility should also be provided to aggregators like Power to SME. Power to SME, as I'll just briefly mention that since I am also associated with Power to SME as advisor, as Director External Affairs. Power to SME is a basically aggregator established all over the country, funded by World Bank, and very professionally run organization, which aggregates the requirements of raw materials of SMEs and provides them, this material at their doorsteps at very competitive terms, because they are able to, source this from the manufacturers in bulk with the better pricing, and that is how they are able to cut the overheads of the intermediaries like wholesalers and retailers. So if they want to go for, like if they sell the material to the small and medium enterprises, if they want to go for discounting of their bills, selling sales bills on the trades platform, they should also be, because there are other aggregators also. Even NSIC is also an aggregator. NSIC also does the same thing, consolidating the requirement and then providing it to the MSMEs at very concessional prices. I will not speak much on further about this Atmanirbhar Bharat and other questions which Mr. Faiz raised. We will keep talking about this, because
Yeah,
otherwise it will be all through,
yeah, absolutely.
we want to listen to our distinguished guest, Mr.
Absolutely.
Ajay Thakur, who is a key person, in fact, today's. And
Yeah, so I have
any-
I have next question for
yeah,
Mr. Thakur only, and yeah,
thank you.
so as very well summarized. So that's why the purpose is to just connect the audience with the brief highlights of Atmanirbhar Bharat, and definitely we'll have couple of more questions for you, sir. And before that, I would like to hear from Mr. Thakur. Those who have joined now our panel discussion, I must tell them that Mr. Thakur is responsible for Bombay Stock Exchange SME platform. So that's BSC SME. So when we talk about raising finance, BSC SME and the stock exchanges have got a new way of raising funds, and so Mr. Thakur is responsible for that at BSC. And I have a question for you, Mr. Thakur, regarding the funds of fund. So what according to you is is the main priority or the main issue that the MSME sector is facing with regards to equity funding, and how this whole scenario is going to affect, because fund of funds, as far as I know, it requires a time. It is not something which is going to which is going to start producing results immediately after the announcement. So how do you see with this announcement, how do you see the status of MSME lending or MSME equity capital as a trend in next 1 year down the line? I just over to you, Mr. Thakur.
I don't want to confine myself only to fund of funds, but I would like to give more light on equity funding perspective. Okay, as far as as of now, I am the head of BSC SME and also a startup. We have both SME platform as well as a startup platform on BSC. So let us try to understand of one thing. Today, if you see, the government is talking about fund of funds to invest into the equities of the SME. But if you see the history of Indian capital market, BSE was the first stock exchange that has been established around 145 years back. And the main reason for creating this stock exchange was to provide equity financing to the promoters. irrespective of whether they are a small company or mid-cap company or large corporates. Because we all know from day one, no one is a big corporate or mid-level corporate or even a small corporate. So everyone start as a startup, then grow to the macro structure, from there to the mid-cap structure, and then from there they transform themselves into large corporate. If the businesses are in the proper shape, it's a scalable, and promoters are adopting the best of the technology and understand the market scenario. So those things have been happening into the companies. When Reliance got listed, it was a small company. When Tata's got listed, a small company. When Birla's got listed, it was a small company. But from there, they keep on growing. Okay. Now the question arises that whether equity funding is required or not. Of course, equity financing is required, because today you name any company, and even forget about naming any company, the products that you are using, any one of us, the products that we are using from the time we wake up early in the morning till the time we sleep in the night, we are using 85% of the products of the listed company. Okay. So it clearly gives an indication that if you want to become a big company, or if you want to become a giant company, the only option or the only way to reach to that height is equity financing. And the examples are not only onshore, but the examples are also offshore. So in 145 years, we have been allowing these companies to get listed. But slowly what we found on the stock exchange, that some of the promoters with wrong intentions were coming for our listing onto the stock exchange, and with the help of some fly-by-night operators, were giving bad name to the stock exchange and destroying the wealth of the investors. So we have made the guidelines more strict. Okay. And therefore, what happens with the time, and even the regulatory compliances have been made more strict. So the SMEs were finding it difficult to come for listing and raising funds. Therefore, in 2010, the Industrial Association, and especially those associations which were related to MSMEs, they approached to the then Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and requested him to, create an alternative platform, alternative stock exchange, especially for MSMEs, where the MSMEs can get listed in a very cost-effective manner, and also the post-listing compliances should be less. So in 2010, this, the Prime Minister Task Force has given the recommendation and advised Security Exchange Board of India, the regulator for the capital market, to start one SME exchange in India to cater to the needs of equity financing for the SMEs. So SEBI has come out with the guidelines, and the guidelines says that any company, now what this guideline has nothing to do with the MSME Act. Okay, this guideline is totally different. Okay, so this guideline says that any company having post-issue paid-up capital below 25 crores. So if the paid-up capital of the company is below 25 crores, then the company can get listed onto the SME platform of the stock exchange. BSE has come out with their own eligibility criteria, and what BSE said that any company whose net tangible asset is 1.5 crore, and the company is in existence for 3 years, and in any of the 3 years, if they have got the positive cash flow, then they can get listed onto the SME platform of the stock exchange. So these are the eligibility criteria for the companies to get listed onto the stock exchange. And let me tell you, most of the companies can meet to this eligibility criteria. The eligibility criteria is very simple. And even the compliances have been reduced further. It has been relaxed much more than the companies which are listed onto the main board of the stock exchange. So what the compliances is that half yearly results you have filed with, have to be filed with the stock exchange, that also on unaudited basis, and yearly you have to file audited results. So the compliances have been simplified to a great extent, so that the promoters of the SME can think of getting listed onto the stock exchange. Now the question arises that what are the benefits of listing? Why I am doing business? Why I am satisfied? with what I have. Why should I go for listing? So what are the benefits? Okay. Now, most of the companies start their business with their own funds or funds from friends and relatives. They grow a little bit, then they depend on the banks. And then they keep on leveraging their balance sheet with the banks. And let me tell you, in last 7 years, I have seen 30,000 balance sheet, met 30,000 promoters. And most of the balance sheets are too much stressed because a lot of loans have been taken on the books. And it gives you an impression that whether it's really a balance sheet or an imbalance sheet. Okay. So, no, so what the benefit? Number one benefit is that you go for listing through an IPO and you can raise funds. So you dilute 25% of your equity, raise funds. And let me tell you, you don't have the responsibility or liability to, service this equity fund. Just the way you are servicing debt fund, every month you have to pay EMI. Here there is no requirement of paying any EMI. You bring an IPO, raise funds for capital, for capex purpose, for your working capital, even for your reducing your debt. So this way you can, for these purposes you can raise funds. That's number one. And you don't require servicing that also. You just need to keep on your growing your business, and the investors who have invested in your equity, they will be rewarded through capital appreciation. Number two, as I have already said, because of the equity coming onto the balance sheet becomes strong. And once the balance sheet becomes strong, even the interest rate benefits are there. We have seen that in the listed space, almost 100 to 150 basis point reduction is interest rate in comparison to the unlisted companies. Now, third benefit is the credibility of the promoters. Okay, the credibility of the promoters increases manifold because of the listing. Okay, because the investors and other stakeholders have got the impression that the company is doing maintaining all the balance books of accounts. They are doing the compliances. They are keeping the books transparent, and therefore the credibility of the promoters increases. Fourth benefit, visibility. So till now you are localized player, no one knows you. But once you get listed onto the stock exchange, the world starts seeing you, and when the world starts seeing you, seeing is believing. Okay, you can go for joint venture. People will be interested to get associated with you, or the companies will like to go for joint venture, and even the investors across the country would like to invest in your company. Fifth benefit is that you can reward the best of your employees by giving them ESOPs. Fifth benefit, because your equity is trading, so you are issuing currency because your equity is being traded into the capital market. And seventh benefit is, your equity becomes a collateral. Say after 5 years of listing, if you don't want to dilute your shares further, you want to get loan, but you don't have physical collaterals, then by pledging these equities, you can, raise debt funds. So understand, so many benefits are there. I don't think any other instrument has ever discovered by anyone or invented by anyone which give you so much benefits.
Yes.
So I think there are lots of benefits by equity. And now the government, let me come to this. Now the government, if you see the government, even the government for last 1 year has urging to the promoters to go for listing. The basic reason,
I was just coming to this point.
No, what is the reason for that? Let me tell you. If you are proactive government, if you start thinking how to, because nowadays, you keep on, because the market, the world is so dynamic, okay? And there is so much competition between 2 countries, 3 countries, or 4 big, large countries, that unless and until you have got a strong economy, you can't survive. You can get impacted and your economy start contracting. So how to, have the good corporates in your country, and the country should keep on growing is, so the government thought that there is a need to de-stress the balance sheet of the companies as well as the banks. And that's why the government focus is on this, that, the companies should go get listed onto the stock exchange, raise fund to the equity, so that they can de-stress their balance sheet as well as the balance sheet of the banks. So that's why they are saying. They are talking about, creating funds of 50,000 crores for what purpose? So they don't want this 50,000 crores to be idle. See, this will be on rotation. They want this 50,000 crores to expand to 5 lakh crores. so that they can, keep on investing on, thousands and 2,000 and 5,000 SME, and, keep on converting them into large corporates. So that is the purpose, that is the thing in the minds of the government. That's why government is also urging the promoters for getting their company listed onto the stock exchange.
Yeah. I have, personally have seen Mr. Our honorable MSME minister, Mr. Gadkari, where he has shown personal interest. So I'll get back to you on this. Definitely I would like to understand, in terms of if the government is also, I have also heard, and I have also covered that aspect, that government is also going to not just motivate the SMEs to get listed, but are going to take active participation. So government is also under the MSME ministry. This is also getting considered to to buy certain equities on the stock exchange. And what will be the process? I'm sure it will be on your desk very soon, Mr. Thakur. So, but before that, I would now go back to the to Miss Ruchi Agarwal, who is with us, and I would like to hear from her about the TReDS thing. How is it going to benefit? Because one of the issue that MSMEs are facing, and government is also trying to address by doing a lot of things, is the collateral, is to restrict the involvement of collaterals in the banking profile. And there are several ways, but TReDS as a platform has also emerged as a one option, where suppose if I am an SME and I am a MSME and I have done business with any PSU or any large enterprise, I can probably submit my bill, which I am supposed to get in 2 months time or 1 month time, whatever. So that bill will become a kind of collateral itself. And it is not just a benefit, one-sided benefit for MSME. It is also a kind of boost for the corporate also, who is actually doing this transaction using the TReDS in the middle, as a middleman. So I would just like to hear from Ms. Agarwal, how is this whole activity is taking shape, and how is this whole activity is actually influencing the biggest challenge of delayed payments, as well as the collateral. Is it getting served as a collateral in the banking fraternity as well? Over to Mr. Agarwal.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Faiz. And I would like to thank Power 2 SME and SME Street to have me here to speak on TReDS, because this is the most relevant times when there's a lot of cash constraint in the economy as a whole, and especially when MSMEs are having liquidity constraints, and everyone is looking forward to some alternate financing solutions for MSMEs. So can I have my presentation, Mr. Zumair?
Yes, just
yeah. So I think for benefit of everyone, a lot of people are not aware of TReDS as a solution, as a SME alternate finance. But this idea, or this TReDS as a solution to alternate MSME financing is not very new, I must say, because we did our first transaction in the year 2017, and RXIL is the first TReDS exchange to get RBI license. So RXIL is a joint venture of SIDBI and NSE. You can move to first slide. Yeah, so it's a joint venture of SIDBI and NSE, and ICICI Bank, Yes Bank and SBI has also invested in the venture. So what is TReDS? Next slide. What is TReDS? TReDS is a digital platform where we have buyers on one side, buyers are registered. Then we have their multiple sellers who are registered. Then we have almost close to 34 to 35 financiers, financial institutions, which include banks and NBFCs, which are registered with us. In fact, factors which are registered with us. And we have vendors. registered on the platform. So here we have the model wherein a buyer can have multiple vendors, or once a vendor is registered, he can have multiple buyers registered on the platform. Next slide. So why TReDS? Why this TReDS was discussed, like to get in TReDS guidelines in the year 2014 and 15, because the problem which MSMEs are facing, everyone knows. So as per the recent figures, these figures are pre-COVID figures, wherein we can see almost 1 lakh crores of MSME payments were delayed, wherein almost 50,000 crore delays from PSUs which are cash rich. They are cash rich, still they are making payment delays to MSMEs due to various reasons. Then we have large corporates who are also they are also making a lot of payment delays to MSMEs. And though we have MSME Act in place, which says that MSME payments should be made within 45 days of the good receipt date, still we can see from the survey that 27% of MSMEs are saying that they receive more than half of their payment after 90 days. So though we have Act in place, but implementation is not taking place. So now these figures are pre-COVID figures, but I'm sure after this this lockdown and all, these figures are going to get double. So just a brief overview of the efforts the government has taken to address the issue of delay payments to MSMEs. So in 2006, the MSME Act was introduced, which brought in this idea of getting payments made to MSMEs within 45 days. Then 2012, government said that the audited accounts should disclose the MSME dues of both the corporates and the PSUs. Then 2015, Samadhan portal was set up, and in the year 2015, the TReDS idea was guidelines were issued by RBI. Then by MSME's contribution to Indian economy, everyone is talking about it, and everyone knows, like, close to 10 to 12 crores of jobs are generated. You can move to next slide. Close to 10 to 12 crore of jobs are generated in the MSME sector, and it is contributing to more than 30% of the Indian GDP. And yes, we all know that inadequate funding is one of the major constraints faced by MSMEs. Banks are not really very forthcoming in funding to MSMEs. They are asking for very high collaterals, close to 150% of the loan. Plus, and they are looking at they need very good financials, which most of the MSMEs would not have. They don't have proper financials with proper perfect ratios which banks look for. Besides that, if they do get funding from the banks, the rate of interest is very high. It is close to 12 to 15%. And as Mr. Kumar also mentioned, that close to 78% of the MSMEs are using their own funds. They are self-funded. They have very limited access to various financing channels. And so this is, we can move to next slide. So when we talk of, as I've already mentioned, that about the genesis of TReDS. So the idea of TReDS started in the year 2008 by one of the committees, which was headed by Mr. Raghuram Rajan. And the TReDS guidelines were first issued in the year 2015, and RXIL Exchange was the first TReDS exchange, which got the license from RBI in the year 2016, and we did our first transaction in January 2017. So our vision is, next slide please. So our vision is, currently we are having 500 buyers, including PSUs and corporates, which are registered with us on our platform, and close to 2,500 MSMEs are there. And our vision is we want to serve close to 1 lakh MSMEs by the year 2022. So yes, as I earlier mentioned, that we have a platform where we are a kind of a marketplace, wherein we have 35 financiers associated with us. We have buyers registered with us, and we have their MSME vendors registered with us. So one of the questions which was asked by Mr. Kumar about whether the facility to seller is a recourse or non-recourse. The facility on TREDS, as per TREDS guideline, is completely non-recourse facility to seller, which means once the seller is getting his own payments settled from the platform, and on the due date, if the buyer is not able to make the payment to the bank, he has to do nothing with that. In fact, it has to be settled between the buyer and the banker. So it is completely non-recourse to the seller. So now coming to the flow, how does this platform works? We get the buyer registered first, then we get their vendor list from them, MSME vendors list. But now I think everyone knows that MSME definition, the new notification has come, wherein the plant and machinery cost is gone up to 50 crores, which was earlier limited to 10 crores. So herein we see maximum number of vendors categorizing under MSME. With of course, the limitation of total turnover has been limited to 200 crores. So we get the buyers registered, and along with the buyers registration, at the time of buyer registration, we get the MSME vendors list. So once the MSME vendors are also registered on the platform, then we in fact educate the vendors how the platform, we give a lot of demos to the vendors and the buyers, and how the process works. So the vendor, after supplying his goods to the buyer, he uploads the invoice. Once the invoice is uploaded on the platform, the buyer would see the invoice on the platform, and after making the check on the invoices, all required checks in terms of the amount or the the value of the good, and after checking and all kind of audit and inspection, he clears the bills on the platform real time. Once the bill is cleared by the buyer, it is reflected to various bankers as a unit, as a factoring unit. So these bankers, once they see that buyer has accepted the bill, so it's a kind of guarantee which is given by the buyer on the bill that the buyer is going to make the payment of the bill on the due date. So these bankers, when they see that buyer, which is a big PSU or a big corporate, which is a good rated corporate, they start bidding on the bill and they start quoting the rates. The rates are the function of the rating of the buyer and the tenor of the bill. So for example, a 60-day bill, a 1 crore of bill, which is 60 days, and it is accepted by a double AAA rated PSU, is getting the cost at around, getting a bid of around maybe 6.5 to 7%. So which is very, very competitive, and this 6 to 7% is per annum. So a lot of MSMEs, they come and they ask us, if I get my bill uploaded on the platform, my 6% or 7% would be deducted from the bill. No, it is not like that. That 6 to 7% is per annum. So when it is a 30-day bill, then proportionately your some 0% would be deducted from the bill for the settlement, because that is the bank interest cost which bank is charging. And the facility over here is very much different from vendor bill discounting, which is being offered by banks, wherein in vendor bill discounting, the banks do complete limit assessment of the vendors, whereas in this case there is no vendor bill facilities there. This facility here is called factoring. So here the assessment or everything, all the limits are being taken on the buyer. So for seller, we do some documentation which is as per RBI's guidelines, and there is no limit assessment which is done on vendor. Now coming to the next slide. So we have this is the process flow where I've already mentioned that seller would upload the invoice is accepted by the buyer, then financier would bid for the invoice, seller, if he's paying the interest cost. So we have both the models available with us, wherein seller is accepting the bid because he's going to pay the interest cost. In the next slide, we are going to cover where buyer is going to bear the interest cost. So once, so this exchange is open from morning 9 to evening 9. So if the cutoff time in between is 4 o'clock, so if buyer accepts the bid before 4 o'clock, he gets the payment the very next day on T+1. And if buyer is accepting the bid after 4, evening 4 to evening 9, then he gets the payment after on T+2, after on the second day.
Ma'am, one quick question, if I may put across right here.
Please.
Ma'am, can you also help us in understanding what exactly, because, I also observe that there could be apprehensions at the buyer level. Suppose if I am a buyer and I have, 10 MSME vendors, suppliers, and I am right now in a scenario where, payment, I give payments, or my payment process is actually, running on my terms, which also has payment delays or whatever. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with this kind of platform in place, what exactly
Mm-hmm.
is the motivation for me? First of all, if not there is a mandatory guideline for me to follow this, what exactly is the motivation for me to follow this? As a, I'm just saying, from the perspective of buyers, because if there is a strong and a visible motivation for a buyer, it will ultimately help MSMEs, who anyways would be interested in any kind of, platform which can help them in ensuring proper payment, cycle.
So the motivation for buyer to join, first of all, it is meeting one of the compliance requirement, which as per MCA, all buyers above 500 crore of turnover has to mandatorily come on TREDS. So they have to register on TREDS. And when it comes, you're asking what is the motivation for buyer? Yes, buyer on the trades can have the funding of up till 180 days. So, for example, we have an option when the bill, tenor is 45 days. So, what he can do is when it comes to taking funds on the bidding, he can choose for an extended credit period. So, in credit tenor, he can opt for 45 days, and extended credit period, he can opt for additional, 125 days. So total put in together, we can go up to 180 days as per TREDS guidelines. So when a buyer is getting a working capital finance at something, say at 9 to 10%, 9.5% or 10%, on TREDS, we can see the interest cost. We are having a price discovery of close to maybe 7.5%, 7% also. And that too, the limits he's getting over here is unadvised limits. He's not doing any kind of, he's not doing any sanction letter agreement, or he's not giving any kind of financials with the bankers. It's just based on his external credit ratings and his track record, which is available in the public domain. Banks are assigning limits to the buyers. So now, during this period of time, when there's a lot of cash constraint, not only at the end of MSMEs, but at the end of corporates also. So a lot of corporates are approaching us, and they're asking if they have a lot of payments which are stuck, which they are supposed to make to their MSME vendors. So they're approaching us and asking us to, because a lot of corporates are registered already, but they were not transacting earlier. Now they are asking us that they want to start their MSME registration and want to make payment through TREDS, because they can avail facility up till 180 days on the platform. So now coming to the next slide, as I mentioned, we have a reverse factoring process, which is followed by a lot of corporates, wherein the corporates are making the interest payments. They are bearing the interest cost, and entire bill amount or the entire invoice amount is getting credited to seller. So what benefit corporate is getting over here? He's basically asking for better rates. So there's a concept of cash discount, wherein a lot of auto companies are following this. So they are asking for a discount of maybe 10% to 12% from the vendor, and when they are getting a funding at 7 to 8% by using reverse factoring process. So now coming to the next slide, buyer-seller link. As I mentioned earlier also, when if a corporate wants to go for a higher period of funding, so what they do is they decide on the platform itself. They have a they can choose, like, for initial 45 days, the interest cost can be borne by vendor, and for additional maybe 46th to 125th day, the interest cost can be borne by the buyer. So this is how, this has to be between buyer and seller only. So before, when the vendor is registered and when the buyer is already there on the platform, they can define these terms amongst them before starting the transaction. And as I mentioned clearly that once the settlement is happening in seller's account, it's a non-recourse facility for the vendor. He's just out of the the flow. The settlement has to be done between the banker and the buyer, and if buyer defaults on the due date, his account is going to go for a SMA 0 or SMA 1, whatever it is. But seller has nothing to do with it. So financiers, why would financier come and bid on the platform? Of course, they're getting ready clients, because they have to put in otherwise a lot of effort to get a PSU or a very big corporate funding. And the funding under this has been classified as a priority sector lending. So banks have to meet their priority sector targets also. They are able to meet their priority sector lending targets. And because of which also they are able to give very, very fine rates on the platform. And the risk of default is low, because mostly on the TREDS platform, we are seeing only BBB plus and above rated buyers are getting funds. So the buyers who are rated below BBB plus, or mostly A minus and above buyers, are getting funds on this platform. So, and automated reconciliation is there. Next slide, as I've mentioned, benefits for buyers. Buyers are having good relationship with the suppliers, because they're able to make the settlement, or able to make the payments on time. And wherever the transaction volume is huge, what we are doing is we are providing ERP integration. So our platform is getting integrated with the ERP, the SAP or Oracle, whatever systems they are using. So whatever bills are getting uploaded on the buyer's portal, they get automatically pushed to our portal. So as to ensure the transactions and everything is quite seamless, and they get proper MISs, and there's a lot of efficiency in payment and settlements for the vendors.
Okay.
And of course, benefits for MSME sellers, they're getting on-time payment, they're getting low cost of fund. For example, if they are availing a CC facility or working capital facility of at 10 to 12%, here they're getting a funding at close to 7% or 8%. So there's a clear-cut arbitrage. Plus, they don't have to, give any kind of collateral for this funding. And there's a real-time bidding which is happening, which is resulting in a finer rate. So as we all know, a lot of initiatives have been taken by government to promote TREDS. They have made it mandatory for all PSUs and corporate to register themselves on TREDS. And in the recent circular, which was circulated last month only, it stated that all the PSUs have to mandatorily get their MSE suppliers onboarded on TREDS, and they have to ensure that the payments are routed through TREDS, so as to ensure the timely payment is done. I'll just quickly wrap it up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. We've already covered most of the points here. So we have TREDS platforms. We've already got ourselves integrated with GEM portal of the government. So when the procurement, the PSUs is happening on the GEM, there's the option of TREDS which is highlighted on the portal. So vendor, they can go there and then they can avail the facility of TREDS. And that's it. The registration process is there. So it's a one-time registration, and currently we have made MSME registrations free as a COVID relief up till June 30th, 2020. Otherwise, the charges we are asking for vendors is close to 2,500 rupees one time, and there's annual charges also. That is it from my side. Any questions?
So so I'll probably have questions later on, but I have one question now. I'll go back to Mr. Kumar, and I have a few questions from him, because he, he's been working with MSMEs for more than a couple of decades. So having by looking at the contemporary trends, especially with regards to what all developments we have seen, and particularly the new MSME definition. Is Mr. Kumar here? Mr. Kumar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So, sir, considering the new MSME definition, and also, developments such as TREDS, developments such as BSc SME clubbed with the fund of funds inclusion, and government's, inclination and, to be precise, Mr. Nitin Gadkari's personal focus towards the kind of alternate finance availability on at the MSME level. So considering all these scenarios, how do you see this all will going to influence the banking finance the sector, especially on the MSME space? And obviously, if you can, uh, because there are what all we are hearing at the public forums and on social media as well, on our platforms also, that the disconnect is still there with the actual on ground banking is concerned. So how all these things will ultimately lead to a ease of accessing finance, at the same time reducing the cost of finance, which is equally important as far as MSMEs are concerned. So your views on this, sir?
I think your questions are very relevant. These are the questions, in fact, which are agitating, in fact, a lot of MSMEs in their day-to-day operations and dealings with the banks. While banks are correct on their part that they have to service their depositors in terms of deposit rates, which they have not been able to bring down very substantially, except of course marginal reductions. But people still expect, the depositors still expect, senior citizens still expect 8% plus rate of interest on their deposits. And banks are struggling, in fact, to keep that rate for deposits, and also provide concessional rates to the MSMEs. So that is the reason probably that they have not been able to pass on fully whatever reduction the Reserve Bank of India announced in the repo rates and reverse repo rates over the last 2 years. That is one thing. Second thing is with regard to the effect on banks because of these announcements made by Government of India in this package, and then concessions and additional funding, 20% emergency credit line to the MSMEs. Let me tell you, the impact over the working of the banks is going to be positive because of these things. Let me tell you how. Some people are apprehending that the banks may suffer because of the announcements made by the government for benefiting the MSMEs. Let me tell you, they are not going to suffer, they are going to gain. Because in any case, banks have the, banks have the opportunity to lend 3 lakh crores straight away to those MSMEs which are standard accounts, which have already been dealing with them, whose credentials have already been checked, whose securities are already existing, whose documentation guarantees are already existing, whose balance sheets and business is already with them. So nothing more to be checked, no hard work to be done to identify a new customer or a new borrower. These borrowers are already with them, their securities are with them, their background checks are with them, and they are going to lend 20% more, which is to be repaid in 4 years, 5 years. They are going to straight away earn a lot of interest over this 3 lakh crore at the current rate of interest which they are going to fix today. And it's a great opportunity because otherwise, finding a customer, new customer, is not easy for a bank. I mean, finding a customer may be easy because there are a lot of customers approaching them.
Finding a good customer.
But finding good customers, then evaluating their credit worthiness, and then completing the documentation securities. Today, everybody wants that he should get 2 crores worth of credit limit without collateral security because of the credit guarantee fund trust. And that is the scheme of the government. So instead of that, the banks are finding it comfortable to disburse under that emergency credit line. Second thing, when you talk of distressed fund, that is also going to help the banks. That 20,000 crore in any case is going to improve the working and financial condition and bank accounts of the distressed MSMEs and regularize their accounts. So that way the banks will not be required to make provisions for the non-performing assets. So ultimately, and the change in definition also, of course, is going to help the MSMEs. And in turn, if it helps the MSMEs, it helps the financing institution. Any stakeholder which is associated with the MSMEs stands to benefit, whether it is supplier or a financer or an employee. Naturally, all of them benefit because MSME benefits and MSME is able to improve their operations. So that is the nutshell I can say. But
Yeah.
let me tell you your apprehension that there is a lot of disconnect. I heard that word. Disconnect is there because there are two reasons. One is that all new customers, all new MSMEs, all new startups, everybody who starts a new business enterprise wants a loan. And getting a fresh loan, first time loan is not easy. And you have to complete all the requirements and documentation and background checks and the rating and whatnot, security requirement of the banks. Second thing, which is more practical, let me tell you, I have seen and a lot of people have reported. If you approach the branch manager doesn't have time to even meet you and listen to you because there is a lot of work in the bank. There is already flood of people in the branch. And there is hardly any time with the people working in the bank, at the bank branches, to deal with these, cases which require a focused attention. If you want to really deal with a new project for financing a new customer or a new project, you need to spend a day on that. You have to evaluate the balance sheets. You have to evaluate his personal accounts. You have to check his background. You have to, see the project, its viability, technical feasibility. It all requires time. If you go to branch manager, meet him, first of all, there is already 4 people sitting there. And then if you talk to him, naturally he has plenty of other things to do. And there's a lot of rush and pressure. So there should be a separate, I don't know how it's going to be solved. But there is this problem also has been reported by a lot of people, that they are not being entertained by the branches because of lack of time. This is one practical input. I don't know whether there is any resolution of this or not. Because ultimately, any branch manager, any person who is working at that place is stressed because of shortage of time and additional workload.
So,
the banks
So one more thing, and the threat of landing up to a kind of a bad.
That is another apprehension you rightly mentioned. If there is any wrong decision, there is a witch hunting at a later stage, even after retirement, people have gone. So some protection has been granted by government of late, that they will not be hounded because of the wrong decision, which are justified and which are business decisions without malified. So, but then these things are certainly, create a lot of doubts and apprehensions in the minds of the decision maker. So these are the, transitory times which is taking little time to improve. I'll close with one question. If you can ask Ruchi Agarwal ji, that which I mentioned in my earlier also. Once you say, Ruchi ji, are you hearing directly to me?
Yeah, sir.
Say that it is without recourse to the sellers. Which are SMEs. It is between the buyer and the banks then at a later stage for settling the payments. That's what I understand. That is what is without recourse means. So can you include companies like Power to SME who are the sellers who sell to SME, but their buyers are in fact big companies, corporates. Okay, like they buy from big companies in bulk and supply to small, and they raise bills on the SMEs. So whether their bills can be discounted, you can answer when other questions you are answering. Maybe if not now, let Mr. Faiz take over the work.
So so maybe you can take this particular very very relevant thing. I'm sure for Mr. Thakur, I have one point. We have discussed the benefits of BSE SME. I would just like to understand from you that there has been a focus at the government level, which is about making the micro unit graduate to a medium size, and the medium should grow to the next level. Micro should become small, and small should become this thing. And also even the secretary MSME Mr. Sharma have also mentioned that they are also wish to make Indian MSMEs into global entities. So having that kind of roadmap vision, where do you see BSE SME can probably contribute in this whole journey?
Mr. Faiz, can I come before Mr. Thakur comes?
Yeah, please sir, please.
Let me say, if SME Exchange is working in India and somebody is doing the best of work in SME Exchange promotion, is Mr. Ajay Thakur. I know him for the last almost a decade when the SME exchange was conceived and started. He's there from the very beginning, and we have promoted a lot of programs in the country. He's the one who has really brought this SME exchange listing environment to this level, where almost more than 500 companies, Thakur Sahab, have been probably listed, and a lot of more companies are in the pipeline. And with this fund of funds, I am sure it is going to give a very big boost. So compliment Mr. Thakur, and we look forward to your continued boost in this sector.
Yes, I still remember.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Thakur, just to add to Sir's point, I remember our first meeting when we have got some 10th listing. 10th listing, or you were talking to the 10th SME to get listed on your platform, and it was like, I think 2013 or so, or it was somewhere around that time. So great compliments, best compliments. So now you can mention you can start with your point.
See, there are two ways to look into the things. What Mr. Kumar has said was right. I think we are a country with a huge population. 138 crores of population, and almost 2 to 3 crore of MSMEs in India. And with the banks having limited employees, it's very difficult for them to cater to so many MSMEs. But there are some problems, inherent problems in the MSMEs also. Most of the MSMEs are being run by the technocrats, and therefore they are unable to present the financials of the company in a proper manner. Okay, and if they are unable to present themselves, I don't think any of the banker will be in a position to support them and help them. Now see the country today, the total NPA of all the banks together is almost 10.35 crores, 10.35 lakh crores. Okay, so banks are sitting on the ticking bomb. Okay, where a lot of NPA has created, and I don't know what will be the situation after this COVID, and that's why I think a lot of line of credit has been created by the government of India. And RBI is continuously reducing the repo rate and reverse repo rate. But let me tell you the problem. The problem is, demand side has squeezed a lot. Today, all the banks together having a 3.45 crore reverse repo rate has parked 8 lakh crore rupees with the Reserve Bank of India. And they are not lending it. So there is a huge problem. Now the question comes, I think there is some echo happening. No, now the question comes, Juvedji, that how SME platform is going to help the company. No, what happens, there is a issue of, having proper balance sheet, profitability, and all those things. And there are some apprehensions also related to the balance sheet of the MSMEs, which is not giving the comfort level to various financial institutions or the investors at large. So with the listing, what happens that, your financials, your balance sheet, your businesses, your visibility, your transparency, the perceptions of the financial institutions and investors take a U-turn. Okay. Suddenly, everybody starts believing you and start trusting you. And these things, create a different, totally different ecosystem around you, and which helps various financial institutions and various investors to fund you. Okay. So it's, it's a two-way process. One process that where we are expecting the banks, the investors, the financial institutions for, coming forward and lending, where they have got their own apprehension and their own, constraints and witch hunt, whatever you can talk about. And there are another, problem with the MSME's, balance sheet. Okay. So we need to understand that this is not a one-way communication channel. We have to create a two-way communication channel whereby the promoters have also to come in a transparent manner and way to present the things, and where the listing, is opening that gate for them. And therefore you are saying that, the interest rate for the listed companies are almost 50 to 150 basis point lower than the unlisted companies. So this is the thing that need to understand, the role of the stock exchange to open the gate for the MSMEs.
Mr. Thakur, now I think it's a wonderful discussion we had, and obviously we have a lot of things to discuss still now. Zumair, if we can have now questions from the audience, if you are compiling or sending some questions from the audience, we can start
Yes,
taking it.
I request my colleague Sodamni to kindly raise the
Sodamni.
questions that were submitted by the participants in the chat. Sodamni, please.
Yeah, I'm going to take on the first question. That is, should NSIC not extend validity of all the GP enlistments of LSEs up to December 2020 for those whose validities are expiring from March 2020 onwards?
I think that question, I think Mr. Kumar can address this.
What is the validity, Sodamni? Can you repeat?
Sir, should NSIC not extend validity of all the GP enlistments of MSEs up to December 2020?
No, what is GT investment? Validity of what?
The GP enlistment.
Government
GP enlistment.
Okay.
Government procurement.
Government procurement enlistment is government procurement enlistment. That is a registration granted by NSIC, which has a validity, and
Yes.
its validity is, as I understand, is 2 years. So, if the validity is expiring on a certain date, you can apply for, revalidation. That is not a problem, and it happens very, very quickly and very easily. Revalidation. Renewal, and probably NSIC may not extend the validity of their own because they do some checking that whether you are still in existence, whether your capacity is same. Because normally what happens is while renewing the registration, they increase your value. If it was earlier for 5 crore, you may have exceeded 5 crore, and they may do it for 10 crore now. So it is in your interest to get it revalidated. But in case you want validity to be extended, you just make an application to them, it will get extended. They have some small formality and you can complete.
Mr. Kumar, may I intervene?
Yes, please do that.
The validity of NSIC enlistment for MSC units which are expiring during this period, when they are not able to file the renewal applications, the documents to be done by auditors, the chartered accountants, the balance sheets have to be done by 31st March. They have been extended by Income Tax Department also. So the ad hoc extension of those NSIC certificates which are expiring during this COVID period should be extended like the other departments are doing it.
Yes.
There's no harm in it.
I think it's a valid suggestion. You are talking of temporary extension until the COVID lockdown problem continues and people are not able to get the accounts audited and all that. So I think it's a valid concern.
Such a recommendation can be sent.
Yes. So what you can do is an application can be sent to NSIC by the concerned people. I will also speak to them and let us see, because I am not with the NSIC as of now, but I can surely speak to them. It's a valid concern, and let us see if it can.
Surely. That is what I thought you would say to them.
Yes.
Do we have more questions?
Yes, we have more questions. The next question is, under the emergency credit funding, are multi-state cooperative banks, are they also covered? As these banks are giving the excuse that the scheme does not cover them and is only limited to PSU banks and NBFCs.
As far as my knowledge is that cooperative banks are, all scheduled commercial banks are covered. Scheduled commercial banks include public as well as private sector banks. I am not sure, but to the best of my
Actually,
knowledge,
yes.
cooperative banks are not covered in that.
Actually, not as of now, but there is a discussion or there is a consideration at the government level to include cooperative banks also. But that is, yeah, a lot of clearances and a lot of, discussions and finalization are yet to take place.
Damini?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. So, the government tenders for MSMEs, are they without bank guarantees? Why can't the government bodies give orders to MSMEs to provide bank guarantees to PSBs to extend funding?
Well, government orders are given by the government organizations that once the MSCs have to supply, then raise the bills. And these bills are supposed to be paid immediately. So bank guarantees for what? Bank guarantees will be, you can't make payment of the advance. You can open letter of credit. I mean, if you are referring to like bank guarantee in the form of letter of credit, the buyer can surely open the letter of credit, and the supplier, which is MSC, can supply and avail the funding under the letter of credit by negotiating the LC from their bank. So it will ensure immediate payment to the supplier. But bank guarantee provision is not there for the buyers to issue bank guarantee in favor of suppliers. But surely, I mean, if there is a seller's market and buyer is, in search of material on immediate basis, and supplier says, no, I will not issue you unless you pay me the bank guarantee in advance. We can always, he can always get it. But of their own, the buyer will never give bank guarantee.
Yes. So the last question is that it's very clear that the additional funding for MSMEs declared by the Honorable Prime Minister is limited only to the existing loan holders to the extent of 20% of the amount of loan outstanding as on 29th of February. So the question is specifically for new and running MSME units, from where will they benefit from these announcements? Because under the lockdown, every unit has suffered. So those who do not have, those who are not existing loan holders, how will they benefit?
Yeah, no, I mentioned in my opening remarks also that it is only meant for existing, those who are already availing the credit as on 29th February 2020. So for new customers, although they are not covered under the emergency credit line, but they can always apply to any bank under the normal, route, where banks have not stopped funding other than the emergency credit line. They are in any case considering fresh proposals and new proposals of any new MSMEs. So they can apply. The only thing is it will take little more time to complete the documentation. As Mr. Thakur said, that they have to prepare the balance sheet correctly, present the case to the bank correctly, and they will get it under the normal route.
Right.
And up to 2 crores, there is no collateral requirement, even for MSMEs getting the credit under the normal route also, leave aside the emergency credit line. So this 2 crore guarantee is provided by the government under the credit guarantee fund for micro and small enterprises.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's all for the questions.
Okay. So I think we have touched upon some very critical things that are relevant, and I'm sure that we have, again, because of the time constraints and because we are actually having this particular session on digital, that doesn't mean that we can go on and on, but amazing inputs we have received from our distinguished panelists, and we have
Mr. Faiz, can I come in for a minute?
Sure. Yes.
No, I would suggest that in case you can hold another program, especially for inviting the larger SMEs, of the SMEs, which are at the higher end of small and medium, only for the capital issue purposes, for the purpose of raising equity from the stock exchanges, because probably we have not been able to have the a very big companies today. Maybe you circulate it to the larger ones, and then they participate, and they will be very interested to know as to what is changed now with fund of funds, and they would like to listen to Mr. Thakur we should invite Mr. Thakur.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any point to discuss with Ms. Ruchi or Mr. Thakur right at this moment?
No, I asked one question from Ruchi, which I said that she will answer in her.
Oh, yeah. So, I would like to take your question now. You were asking if Power to SME or NSSE kind of organizations can get benefited from TREADS. But
No,
I think
let me repeat the question. Like there are certain aggregator companies like NSIC, Power to SME. There are other companies also who are basically working for SMEs, but procuring material from large companies like Reliance, Vedanta, and Steel Authority, Rashtriya Ispat Nigam, Indian Oil, and then giving it in smaller quantities to SMEs. So they raise the bills on SMEs.
correct.
But they are not themselves SMEs because their turnover is more than 250. These are
Right.
So how can they take advantage over the
I would like to say because this TREADS guidelines and TREADS platform is falling under Factoring Act, wherein the limits are taken on the buyer who's buying the material from, as you mentioned, in fact, we have got NSIC also registered on our platform as a buyer, but the way you are saying that they are supplying to large MSMEs, so right now that particular facility is not there, but Power to SME is also supplying to, I think, two big buyers also. In a very less proportion for that, Power to SME is already registered on our TREADS platform, is already availing the benefit. I just got to know that first transaction was done yesterday only. It was done by Power to SME and it made a supply to a bigger corporate. Because here the bankers are taking limits on the big corporate. So it's an unsecured limit. It's an unsecured limit which they'll not be able to take on an MSME.
Right.
So that is my answer.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So, I think over to you, Mr. Zumair, if we can, also, mention about the next panel discussion that we are going to have. And before that, I would just take a minute and mention that, we have seen so many MSMEs participating in this panel discussion, and we would just like to mention, I would personally just like to mention one thing, that times are tough at this moment, and this is somewhere everybody is facing financial turbulence. So at this time it is very important to keep keep patience and keep the faith, and definitely things will gonna turn up, and I'm sure these kind of sessions will definitely be required at the in the times when a lot of new policy updates are happening. So to understand that, these sessions are very, very important and critical. So once again I would like to thank Mr. Kumar, Mr. Thakur, Mr. Ruchi Agarwal, Zumair and his team, Saudmi and ma'am, for Power to SME, for carrying out this kind of initiative. And so over to you, Zumair.
Thank you, Mr. Faiz. I thank all the panelists, Dr. Kumar, Mr. Ajay Thakur, Ms. Ruchi Agarwal, and we shall be directing any query that we will be receiving from the participants who attended the session here, and those who will be seeing it on the shared link on YouTube. So we will be directing all the concerned queries to your respective teams. And we shall be coming back with another session on smart manufacturing in SME sector with SME Street next week, and you all will be receiving the invitation for the same. Thank you for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.